5. That's it. It doesn't see more. It sees 5. But then goes on to tell you, if you are re-elected, you can go in for another 5 years. So it is a fresh contract renewal. That's what we see 10. It's not the very first time that we had this proposal of increasing the presidential term limit. The first one, quite new, when President Dr. William RUTO assumed office from a member of parliament in the northern part of the country. I'll be telling you who that was. So this weekend, that particular proposal is not dead. Guess who? Senator Kiage comes in and says, I think we need to extend the presidential term limit in the country to 7 years. So when you have that fronted twice, consecutively, is it a plan in the offing? This conversation of extending the presidential term limit to 7 years is not the very first time we're hearing it. Is it something that is in the background? This, as we do know very well, that it was fire, almost fists thrown at the bombers of Kenya as the two sides continued to negotiate on exactly how to approach those bipartisan negotiations. The talking points being IEBC, the cost of living, the audit of the 2022 general elections. And for those of us who've been counting, it is now less than 40 days for those ladies and gentlemen at the bombers of Kenya to come up with a draft that is essentially going to lay ground for how we are moving forward. Raila Amolo Odinga has been speaking this weekend. They said we wait and see exactly what happens before he announces his next move. Musalia Mudavadi has been speaking on the cost of living, and Moses Wetangula as well, that this country or this government has a plan on the cost of living. That is exactly what we're going to talk about this morning. And it's a good thing that I can see Ragad or in the studio this morning. Platforms, I am at Simba. We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your newspapers this morning. All right. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation this morning. This is exactly what you're waking up to, by the way. For those who do not know, we are back in period. Remember 1997 as they prepare for deluge. Now, one of the unhappy pages in the country's history books is the impact of a 10-month rainy season that hit Kenya in 1997. When the rains began in May that year, some people imagined they would subside in a matter of days or weeks, but they lasted until February 1998. Now, the country's meteorological department had announced that an impending El Nino, which would result in above average rainfall in the country. So be ready. We were told that indeed it's going to start next month officially, probably in the first week. So we are there, and the signs are clear that indeed the weather has been welcoming El Nino. With that particular story on pages 2 and 3. There's also a fee windfall for private varsities. Now, private universities have reported a high demand for admissions as students shun public ones following the adoption of the new funding model that many perceive as expensive, especially because of low component. The development is a huge relief for the private institutions that have experienced low intake since 2016. Talk about the inverse of what this particular model was essentially trying to achieve. Kipchoge does it again. We do know that Eli Kipchoge did secure his 5th victory in the men's race at yesterday's Berlin Marathon in Germany. He said he wanted to break the world record, but it didn't happen. The good thing is that it did actually emerge and then the winner. Now, on page 6, there's a proposal then to amend presidential term limit that has sparked outrage. A proposal by Nandi Senator Samson Kiage to amend the presidential term limits has drawn sharp reactions, with a critic saying it could be a ploy to introduce presidents for life in the near future. Particular story covered on page 6. Now, the state is listing some Mombasa and Lamu port assets. Now, lack of adequate funds has forced the government to backtrack on its earlier opposition to the privatization of the key infrastructure at the ports of Mombasa and Lamu. That particular story has been covered. It's not on the back page. I can't see the sticker that the Daily Nation puts here. Yes, on pages 10. Good. Not so much in terms of the back pages, because we can see how Kenya's now turn out in Berlin to cheer athletes in victory. That particular story has been covered on the back page of the Daily Nation. Let's move on to the Standard. The Standard has the bigger story. RUTO term limit jitters over push for extra years. Now, Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei has submitted a memorandum to the bipartisan talks team to increase the presidential term limit to 7 years, but lawyers and politicians are having none of that, asking the team to ignore the request. But the others see hidden hand in the drive. That particular story has been covered on page 4. On page 6, you're going to read about how the SHA was meeting to trim Kuria to size. That particular story has been covered on page 8. And Eliud ran 2 hours and 2 minutes and 42 seconds at the time that essentially saw the hero win the Berlin Marathon after bagging his 5th accolade in that particular time. Good. On the back pages of the Daily Nation, of the Standard story, we see the same story for Kipchoge and Sheila Chepkurui, who is posing with a world medal ceremony for the women's 10,000 at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. So read that particular story right there. That's exactly what it is that you're waking up to in terms of the dailies. Let's take a tiny breather. Once we cut back, I'll be taking you straight to the newsroom. Welcome back. The Kikuyu Council of Elders, Kiama, has disassociated itself from the outlawed Mugiki sect, stating that they are a legal entity dedicated to preserving culture and promoting community unity. Speaking during the installation of Kajiado County Patron, the Council of Elders condemned individuals who were spreading false information against the council while emphasizing its quest for peace.
It is during the captivating ceremony attended by elders from different counties for the crowning of Kago Kiango as the new Kiama Kajiado County Patron. Elders from Kiama led by National Patron Kungu Muigai slammed a section of youth allegedly from the Mungiki sect for planning to disrupt the installation.
Watu walitoka nje, wakatoka huko Central kuja kuharibu kwa sababu walikuwa wanataka walete vijana tuwapige hawa wazee. Sasa hiyo ingewacha uhusiano wetu na hawa watu wapi? Sisi hatuna uhasama na Wamasai, ni rafiki zetu, tumeoana. Hapa Kajiado mliniona nikiongea wakati ya mazishi ya General Ngaiseri. Mimi nilianza kutembea hapa Kajiado 1950.
Muigai also called for peace between the Kikuyu and the Masai communities while condemning elders who attempted to sow discord.
Mimi niko na damu ya Kimasai. Watu wetu wengi wako na damu ya Kimasai kwa sababu tumeoana sana. Hii kiama ni ya wazee wa Kikuyu, lakini wazee wa Kimasai tunawaruhusu kuingia na mbuzi ya kwanza.
Kajiado Deputy Governor Martin Moshisho emphasized the importance of preserving culture in the region and urged the communities to come together despite their tribal differences.
Kwanza nipongeze jamii ya Wakikuyu kwa mila zao ambao wameweza kudumisha na kuhifadhi. Uongozi unatokana na nywele nyeupe, mtu ambaye amejaa hekima.
The newly crowned patron Kago Kiango emphasized the importance of maintaining peace, vowing to ensure peace prevails between the two communities.
Jukumu langu na muhimu sana hapa Kajiado, ile nimetwikwa na wazee wa jamii ya Wakikuyu, ni kuunganisha Wakikuyu wote wale wote wako kila pembe ya Kajiado, ndio tuweze kukua kitu kimoja. Alafu uhusiano wetu na jamii ya Wamasai. Wamasai ni mashemeji wetu, na tunaweza, ile kazi mingi tutaweza kufanya ni kujaribu kuweka uwiano tukiwa pamoja na wao. Asante sana.
Bridget Agola, Lookuptv.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has affirmed that President William RUTO means well for the country. Mudavadi says despite the harsh economic times, that lies hope through unity of a purpose. As Ival Ruganao files, Mudavadi also assured Western Kenya and the country in general that there is no leadership crisis between him and the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has verified that there are no leadership wrangles between him and the Speaker of National Assembly, Moses Masika Wetangula.
Hivi tina ndogo ni ya nini? Weta has the ear of the president. Musalia has the ear of the president. What is your problem? The logical thing is for those ears to work together so that we can hear and pull together and put more resources in Western region.
Whereas there has been no disagreement between the two leaders, speculations were prevalent in some quarters that their appointment to powerful positions in government would trigger a fierce battle for the control of the vote-rich Mulembe nation.
Hata nasikia wengine mtu anasema Weta atoke huko anaweka jam. Musalia atoke huko anaweka jam. Sisi hatuweki jam. Wewe uko kwa mrengo wako. If you are serious, don't blame Weta, who is in Kenya Kwanza. Don't blame Musalia, who is in Kenya Kwanza. If you think you are ready for the presidency, go for it. But don't say that sisi tunakuzuia, hatujazuia mtu. But we are just telling you the truth for free. Kwamba, is it really realistic that tutaweza William Ruto in 2027?
Addressing congregates during a church service in Shinyalu constituency, Kakamega County, Mudavadi says they have decided to move forward and work together with leaders upholding different ideologies.
Tuwe kitu kimoja. And let us stand with William Samoei Ruto. He means well for this country. It is not going to be a walk in the park. It will be a long journey, but we shall overcome the challenges, and this country is going to be better and better, and the future of Kenyans is bright.
Musalia continued to urge the Western region to embrace Ruto's government since they have him and Wetangula perspectively positioned. Additionally, the CES has said their aim is to increase the number of votes by the year 2027.
We want to increase the number of votes that President Ruto got in Western Kenya. He got thousands of votes, but we want more votes. And to get those more votes, we must work with Baraza.
Ruga Ival, Lookuptv.
The government will begin a coffee sector reform initiative that seeks to deal with the challenges that have plagued the coffee industry for years. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on Sunday pledged to address the dire circumstances faced by the coffee farmers, who he said have been exploited by powerful coffee cartels and brokers.
Speaking at the Kagere PCA Church in Othaya, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua emphasized the need to rejuvenate the cooperative movement by implementing reforms in a bid to bring back the once thriving coffee industry to life.
Fahali tumelemewa kabisa ni kahawa. Na tumelemewa si kwa sababu sisi ni wavivu ama tumeshindwa kufanya kazi. It's because the cartels are too entrenched. Wamejipanga hao makatel. Watu watatu wanne, they buy our coffee at a throwaway price and they don't tell us at how much. Then wanaenda kwa wazungu, wanauza bei kali, wanakula ile pesa iko pale katikati.
Gachagua proposed the revival of the Kenya Planters Corporation Union, which will aid farmers in efficient milling and eliminate losses during the milling process. Gachagua highlighted how cartels have permeated the entire coffee value chain, causing severe financial hardships for smallholder farmers and leaving them in a cycle of poverty.
Sasa tumeanza mabadiliko. Hao wabunge wametusaidia, hivi karibuni tunaleta sheria bunge. Hiyo sheria itasema kama wewe ni mila, huwezi kuwa marketer. Kama wewe ni marketer, huwezi kuwa mnunuzi. One thing at a time. one man one job. Sasa hao makatelo wameshikana, wanasunguka kila ofisi kwa sababu mimi wameshindwa na mimi, kulete porojo na propaganda. They are trying to create an artificial crisis that kwa sababu ya mabadiliko ati watu wamekataa kununua kahawa, na ni uongo mtupu. Wanataka kutulazimisha tuwauzie kwa sababu tumesema KPCU ambaye ni ya wakulima ifufuliwe, kwa sababu hawa private millers.
The coffee industry has over 7,000 farmers and 5 million Kenyan livelihoods relying on it.
Reforms zile nimesukuma tukiwa na magavana na MPs na stakeholders imeanza kuzaa matunda. Tumepata bonus hatujapata for many years. Factory ya hapa ya Gituge, they are number 1 in Kenya. Sirigi 50k, 57.
On Mount Kenya Unity, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua stressed that the region is firmly united behind President William Ruto and there are no cracks as earlier perceived.
We have no structural deficits. Our walls are strong. What we have are cosmetic cracks. Our walls have no structural weaknesses. That's the Mount Kenya region. The soul of the Mount Kenya people is one. It's one. And the soul is what is most important. The driving force of this region is unity and hard work. And that is why this region will remain united behind President William Ruto for 10 years.
The DP also called on Kenyans to be patient with the government as plans are underway to deal with the high cost of living, which has further been exacerbated by the rise in the cost of fuel. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv.
Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education, led by its National Secretary Edward Obuocha and National Vice Chairperson Julius Correal, have threatened to boycott the marking of the Kenya National Examinations. As Ian Ketani now reports, Obuocha has called upon the national government to address the plight of teachers ahead of the national examinations scheduled to kick off next month.
With the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations slated to start next month, the marking of those exams might be delayed after the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Teachers (KUPPET), led by the National Secretary Edward Obuocha, called on teachers to boycott marking, citing poor pay.
Want better terms for examiners, but the examiners don't want. So this year, can we agree? Because nothing will ever come. Even the payments will keep delaying for examiners, for supervisors, if we don't do something. And the only thing we can do, mmesikia in serikali ya matatu, to boycott one until we send a message. We only need to do it one. Hakuna mwingine ataenda kumark hiyo exam. Unakumbuka wanasema mambo ni mangapi? That's very serious, very dangerous, and that gets us very worried. Lakini we will never give up. Lazima tuendelee kuambia kwamba teachers need better terms.
While taking a swipe at the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Obuocha called on President William Ruto to address the plight of teachers as they play a significant role in nation building.
TS cannot do anything without consultation with the Teacher Service Commission, with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. A body which in my view should not even be there. But so SRC is what caused problems for those in C5. What we have already seen is compensation for what has been taken away from us na hata ijatoshea. Ama namna gani? Because ile wamesema ile tumepata kidogo is compensation for the overtaxation, for the housing levy and so on. So we are still waiting for payment.
National Vice Chairperson Julius Correal, on his part, slammed the Kenya National Examinations Council for failing to pay teachers their rightful dues, while calling out teachers who go for marking despite the call to boycott marking last year.
The National Exam Council is becoming a problem. Teachers are suffering with that organization. I've been an advocate for Kenya National, advocate protecting teachers and advocating for teachers against what Kenya National Exam Council is doing. As I speak, I was an examiner, marking Kiswahili paper 2. But I was chased because I wanted to bring a rebellion.
However, the question remains, Will the teachers make good their threat and boycott marking this time around?
Now, men's marathon record holder Eliud Kipchoge restructured the history books by clocking 2 hours, 2 minutes and 42 seconds, becoming the first athlete to clinch the Berlin Marathon 5 times. Our very own Brian has more on the decorated athlete dubbed the greatest of all time by millions of his supporters around the world.
Berlin Marathon defending champion Eliud Kipchoge has once again hit the headlines, crossing the tape in 2 hours, 2 minutes and 42 seconds ahead of Kenyan Vincent Kipkemboi, who came stretched up, giving Kenya the first runners-up silverware. Kipchoge has had a strong milestone mark in the athletics meeting, bagging the top title in 2015, 2017, and breaking the world record in 2018 and 2022, respectively. The 38-years-old shifted his main focus to the Olympics Games scheduled for 2024 in Paris, France. Reporting for Lookuptv, I'm Brad Mose.
Well, that particular story by Brian takes us to our first break right here on the Morning Drift. Let's work. Once we come back, then the big conversation begins this morning. The question is going to be about the fist fights at the Bomas of Kenya. And you would think that the issues were already agreed, the 10 that we were supposed to discuss, until Cherargei says, well, this committee that is seated there, I want you to also discuss on extending the presidential term limit to 7 years. Not the very first time we've had this. And you'd like to think that all those issues were agreed and discussed. Why we have these issues now? This, plus many other issues that we're going to get into shortly this morning. Join us online and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage. Once we come back, we'll be talking to Ragalo, and Mr. Mungai will be walking in shortly. Ragalo, are you ready for 7 years for your next president? As it? Yeah. As it? As it? For an hour.
Hapa panajulikana kama Napetao. Hapa tumekuja na zaidi ya chakula 500 ili kuhakikisha wakazi hapa angalau wanapokea kitu cha kutia mdomoni. Unavyoangalia hali ya anga sehemu hii, jamani, kuna ukame. Wakati wowote ambapo wewe unacheza loto, 25% ya pesa ambazo unatumia unakuja kufanikisha shughuli kama hii.
Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives. Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Are you looking for experts in waterproofing systems, concrete admixtures, flooring systems, refurbishment solutions, roofing, sealing and bonding, and building finishing systems? Look no more, as Simba Kiage got you covered. With over 113 years of experience, we offer our customers a comprehensive one-stop shop experience and the best technical support. Our products are available in all leading hardware stores and building merchants across the country. Call us today on 0711 140 232 or 0786 140 834 or email us on sales@ke.sika.com. Simba Kiage, building trust.
So the story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage. All right, welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. There's just a lot that we have to go through this morning for the next couple of hours. And I want to start like this then, that indeed, there's just a lot that you have to understand. The Constitution of Kenya, the 2010 Constitution, under Article 142, it talks about the term of office of president. And this is what it says. Under Sabbatical 2, it talks about how a person shall not hold office as president for more than 2 terms. Number 1, the president shall hold office for a term beginning on the date on which the president was sworn in and ending when the next elected president in accordance with Article 136, Sabbatical 2 is sworn. Like we started, it therefore means that the Constitution of Kenya 2010 essentially gives you 1 term office as a president. But it tells you, should one individual feel that they want to go for a second term, you go back again and seek election. After that, you will not be in office for more than 2 terms. That's what Sabbatical 2 is talking about, that a person shall not hold office as president for more than 2 terms. Let's put that conversation in a proper perspective. It's not the very first time that we've had Kenya Kwanza legislators come up with this particular conversation. The latest one to have this proposal is Nandi Senator Cherargei, who said he's already presented a memorandum to the bipartisan committee at the Bomas of Kenya to talk about the possibility of extending the presidential term limit to 7 years. Knowing very well that we did pass motions, both at the Senate House and in Parliament, that everything that these guys are going to talk about is going to be anchored within law. So if indeed then that particular motion is discussed, there's just a huge array of possibilities that we can talk about this morning. Good thing is, Vagalo is with us this morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well. How are you?
Fantastic. I can't complain.
I'm really surprised about our country. If you ask me right now, what would be the bone of contention before we come there? It would be way of life. How is the way of life? How are kids getting to university today? How much are they paying to enter university? How was university during our fathers' times? These guys would walk to university without anything. They'll be given food, they would study, finish, and go wherever they were going. And actually, they had to pass through NYS as they joined university. My father tells me it was very easy to study back their time, but it was very hard to survive because of communicable diseases and what have you. So many people died, but people who survived got it very easy. Books were available in school, and when you join university, you are given everything for free, plus the mattresses. So basically you walk in the way you are, Kiage, you just walk to school, then get out of school with your degree. I mean, walk, get out. Hospitals were free. They would walk into a dispensary, get treated, pricked. The only part is the kitabu ya 32 ilikuwa inakatwa na katikati na makasi. And that will be your book for hospital. But drugs were available. Though they were very painful. Sindano ilikuwa ya kuchemsha. What my father tells me is that today you rather become a thief to survive in Kenya. And what was he saying, becoming a thief? I saw in a petrol station how they steal kerosene. Basically, unauzua 300.
I did say that.
You did say that?
I saw the video.
Unauzua kerosene 300 per liter. Ukidhani umeuzua pesa ngapi?
200 and...
so people must survive. So for you to survive in Kenya, you have to be a thief. One day in this set, I told you, it's very hard to survive on what you're paid. You basically have to squeeze yourself to survive. And when someone tells you we are going to have a 7-year term limit change, that guy is basically telling you RUTO is going to rule for 19 years. Because a constitutional change does not work retrogressively. So how did it happen during 1997? When you had Section 2A changed, we brought multipartism. And there was a limit put, 1997, that Moi could rule for 2 terms. The Jaramogi and others said, but Moi has done already 1 term. He is only remaining with 1 term. Then the court said, no. We are starting anew. It's a constitutional change, so this is very new.
This is very new, yeah.
So Moi served for how many terms?
2 terms.
Which was 92, 97. Then Kibaki came in to go 2. So Moi actually was given another 2 terms by the constitution. So if RUTO takes the 5 years, then we have a change of constitution within. Then the constitution shall be deemed start working immediately. The next election starts. So RUTO will start another term of 7 years plus another 7 years. RUTO cannot rule us for 19 years. With this life, hell no. Why am I telling mwenye anatuangalia, how do you call it in Kiswahili? Mtazamaji. Mpendwa. I want to tell you, when RUTO was not in power, okay, coffee was going at 120 per kilo and macadamia 180 per kilo. Ask those people who do coffee how much they're paid. They're doing today. When RUTO was not in power, the dollar was 118. The day he took power, the dollar was 118. January, the dollar was 123. 1 year down the dollar is 151 when RUTO is in power.
Rising.
When RUTO was not in power, electricity, we were paying 10 bob per unit. Right now, how are you paying per unit? When RUTO was not in power, fuel petrol was 160. how much are you paying today? When Ruto was not in power, Uhuru took 6.5 trillion loan. Ruto has taken 1.5 trillion in 1 year. So 1.5 times 5, do the mathematics very easily. You will see how much you will have taken. 7-point-something trillion, almost 8. When Ruto was not in power, the projects were continuing. Some of them are stalled till today. Why? And when Ruto was not in power, we had the kazi mtaani. The youths were getting money. Now, when Ruto is in power, what is happening? So you want to tell me Ruto continue in power for 19 years? I may be stupid, but that's how I know it. When you change a constitution, the person in power, ile yake inakuwa cancelled, anaanza upya. So Ruto aanze upya another 7 years, then achape ingine 7, agonge 14, plus hii punch. Wa Kenya, tunataka tubonge sheng, plus hii punch, 19. Boss. Nyi mmevuta bangi, hiyo ni kidomo. Live. Hiyo ni kuruka. Haiwezekani. Tell Kenyans, bwana, they know these things. Kenyans are annoying. Hiyo ni ndomo. 19 years. When Treasury bill right now is doing 15.5%, no 15.22%, loans zinaenda kupanda. When Ruto was not in power, we were at 12. Right now, T-bills are going 15.22, meaning the loans are going to hike from this month. Then tumuongeze 14 years. Hey, hata nyinyi mna joke mazee.
Let me just float this to you, Ragallo. Just before you tell Kenyans stop smoking, whatever it is.
Yeah, they are smoking. Yeah.
Let's do it like this. If you look at where Cherargei is coming from, it's not the very first time that we're hearing it, by the way, Ragallo. Because if you do remember, last year, immediately after the president got into office, there was a Northern Kenya member of parliament who also said, I think it's time for us to extend the presidential term limit to 7 years as well. It's not the very first time you're hearing that.
But you see, last time,
yes,
it was the second term of Uhuru.
Does it?
It was not going to happen that he would come to run again. Remember, this is the first term.
Does it?
So this guy can still run again and start anew. So, and the 7th year we were talking about is one straight 7 years, no 2-term limit. So you go in, you chapter 7, you get out. Another one comes in, chapter 7, get out. There was no re-election. So we were not going to, it was BBI, I was part of BBI writing. Yeah. What was being said is that we normally have 1 year, 1.5 full year to 2 years of campaigns. Then the president comes in, waste 1 year. Hajajijua, hajui kiti nakaliwa aje, hajui hata kutembea kwa majeshi, hajui hata vile watu usalimiwa. He is not presidential, he becomes a raia. It takes him 1 year to become a presidential. Yes. Then by the time he realizes he's a president, he's going to an election. So after 5 years is so short that you always have another competition in the middle when the 5 years is not even stabilized into presidency. Yes. You understand? So we said, guys, check. So we can do this. We go to election, so we have 7 years straight. So by the time this guy stabilizes, he's in the 2nd year, so he has 6 years to do his job well, then he leaves. We have another one. So if you chapter 7 years, you don't go back. So, and that was in BBI. Who refused BBI? The same guys want to letter 7 plus 7. They say, no, BBI is not. BBI, yes. Everything they are writing here, because you didn't read everything Cherargei proposed.
Yes.
Cherargei proposed a prime minister's seat.
Yes.
When it was proposed, who made noise?
Yes, sir.
I'm telling Kenyans, an eye for an eye. Isi Biblia, eka Biblia kando.
Yes.
An eye for an eye. Wanaleta, tunaangusha. Si waliangusha BBI, ndio hii wanatuletea. They are saying 40% increase in pesa ile inaingia wapi? Kwa county. Si ndio? Na hiyo tulipoleta kwa BBI wakasema hiyo hata isaili kwenda referendum, hiyo inaweza enda bunge watu waongee. Mbona wanaileta saa hii? Si wapeleke bunge watu waongee. You know, we remember this thing. We live in the same roof called Kenya. We remember this thing. They said 30% ipewe PWD na youths. Ilikuwa kwa BBI. Si hata iko kwa BBI. Ndio hii wameirudisha. Kwani lazima ilaende kwa ikuje kwa referendum. Haya, wakasema Senate ipewe powers. It was in the BBI. Senate wapewe powers. Haya, it was in the BBI. Hii inaitwa nini? World Development Fund iletwe. Wakasema hiyo inaweza ongewa kando. What I'm asking myself, what has changed? Ruto said, sisi tunataka kuchange constitution. Tufanye nini? Tugawane maviti.
Yes.
Kwani wao wanataka kuchange constitution wagawane nini? Mastool. Kama kuna viti si ni stool, na kama kuna stool ukae chini. So wanagawana maviti wakalia stool. The same prime minister seat they didn't want added, now they are bringing it to be added. Tunaambia Ruto hatutaki. Because Cherargei ni kutumwa ametumwa. Ni wala watu tunaitanga wacheshi. Kazi yake ni kuleta mudhogodhane. Sasa tunadhogodhana ni kuanga. Unaona hata huko kwenye watu wanaongea wali karibu limane mangumi. Hivi ndio inakuanga. Unaletewa story, mukosane, extension nyingine 1 year. Hii story ya watu kuongea kwa table wataongea hata miezi 7. Wataongea. Hii ni nyingine ya kuwakosanisha. Waende another 1 month aongeleshani then tena warudi.
Yes.
What it is there is we don't want extension and addition of seats. We've seen what Ruto wanted. He wanted to add us 50 cabinet assistants, cabinet secretary, whatever the names are, because they are not in the constitution. I don't want even to add a name because it is unconstitutional.
Yes.
I don't know why he wanted to give Mwaura a seat. I don't know why he wanted to add seat to some cronies of his. So hiyo si ilikataliwa, wakaenda kotini, ikirudishwa shauri yao. Sasa wanatuletea prime minister. Watuongezea vitu zingine. Kama cost of living haijateremuka, unatuongeza maviti, unataka tena ututax in January another money ya kulipa hawa watu. Ruto boss, kwani ulitokaga wapi? Why are we doing this to Kenyans? Why are we doing this? You told us this, you're bringing this. Why are you doing this? You would have even told us, hiyo 50 tumeachana nayo, tuende hivi, tupunguze hii namba, tukae hivi, to reduce salary za watu, tuende hivi. Boss, tungekuwa tunaona vitu. Lakini sasa unaongeza maviti zingine. Ndio hii tunaongeza term limit. Upige miaka 14 plus 5, 19.
Yes. Let me take you back to November.
And then kitu moja hujasahau. Gachagua want to be president. Of course, yes. Weta want to be president. Mudavadi want to be president. Even Kalonzo, sindio? They must add 19 plus the number. Now, some people, I don't know whether even they will be alive. Because God knows their time. So, are they ready to support these things so that we add them 19 years? Of their age. We look at your age, we add you 19, tunakuambia ile siku utasimama president.
Okay, let me take you back to November 11th, 2022. And I want to remember this guy, Fafi Member of Parliament Salah Yakub, right? Who said that there are plans to extend term limits to the president that are product of a fertile imagination by a legislator, right? Now, this is what he said, yeah? He said that indeed we should take away the term limits for presidency. That's immediately they assumed office in November 11th, 2022. Again, you like to think that because of the uproar that was within the party and outside the party, that this conversation would completely die. Because they tested the waters and they saw how the country, and even the party itself, UDA, of which he's a member, reacted. They said, hey, we're not going to do that. A couple of months later, they're back with it again. Less than a year again with this proposal. You like to think Cherargei saw exactly how we reacted to Fafi Member of Parliament comments, but again he comes back with it.
Bro, this is not Cherargei. This is not Cherargei. This is the state. Cherargei is just a mouthpiece. I'm not talking about Cherargei. Actually, Cherargei is not even in my business. Cherargei, someone has to be used anyway. And someone has to take the batting. And Cherargei loves it most. Cherargei has been in the wrong books of Kenyans from day one. Watu wanagonganga tu Cherargei. Anafurahianga. He has added weight. Have you seen Cherargei of 2021 and Cherargei of 2023 going 2024? He has added weight. He's doing well. Mdomo imejaa. Ako mafutani. So when you tell me Cherargei, it's not Cherargei. This is a plan of the state. Even the FAFI member was tasting water. And then they realized, RUTO is not so loved. It is not working well. And if you want to know, look at the other day, Tifa gave us approvals, and the other one, forgetting.
Infotrak as well.
Infotrak gave us approval.
Yeah.
What was RUTO's approval?
Of 55%, isn't it?
A 55%. True 55, true.
That's
I want you to walk in this Nairobi, give me his approval.
Yes.
This guy is doing badly, man. He's doing badly. His approval can only be in two communities. The Kikuyu nation and the Kalenjin nation. Give me another community is giving an approval. His approval is badly. So they looked at approvals, they say, now the approval is at 55. It is true, then let's bring it again. But the heart of the matter is they would want a permanent president. The heart of the matter is, can we have a president for life? Can we do the Moi thing? Can we do the Togo thing? Can we do the Gabon thing? Can we do the Cameroon president?
Yes.
Is it possible to chase a Libya away? Or can we do the fourth president that is going for the fourth election, Rwanda?
Yes.
2024, Rwanda is going for an election, but Kagame is going to run against Kagame for the fourth time. Why would he even organize an election in Rwanda when Kagame is running against Kagame? Okay, Uganda is organizing an election also, and they're in heated campaign. Museveni is running against Yoweri. So Kenya, wanatamani. I wish ingekuwa.
Yes.
But hii Kenya itakuwa. Election tutakuwa nao 5-5
Yes.
until tufikirie na tuseme BBI was true. Let's bring back, because BBI kuanguka.
Yes.
Tuliichezea mchezo. Tulete BBI tuangalie. So the question is, one of the things Luochier, if you remember Luochier, one of the lawyers, Luochier, one of the things he said, you cannot bring so many clauses to constitutional change. What would happen is you're changing a whole constitution. It is not again a what? A clause. So many of these things are actually what was in the BBI. So will they bring all of these things?
Yes.
Will Aluochier not go back to court? Aitaanguka. So what really do they want? Do they want a prime minister or do you want a president?
Yes.
What do they want? Because ikienda kotini, one of the things ilifanya hii kitu yanguke ni you change so many clauses. It didn't become a constitutional change. It became a full repeal of the constitution. So this is a constitutional change or a repeal of a full constitution?
Here's what stands in the way of making this a possibility, Ragalo, even as we talk about it. We do know very well that you have to secure votes to support this particular bill.
I'm already saying no.
On two-thirds?
Yes.
On two-thirds of both houses, Parliament, the Senate,
no.
and the National Assembly. Like they have to go in and secure two-thirds. Ragalo, just quickly, as it stands right now, is it not possible or is it not plausible for anybody to think that the Kenya Kwanza government right now would secure two-thirds in both houses?
They will.
That's it. Then second, the support of simple majority of the citizens of Kenya voting in a referendum.
Even the courts, from there, from Senate and the Parliament,
Yes.
you need to come to the counties.
That's it.
Counties, they need to get 20 what? 24. No. They will.
That's it.
Hiyo haina shida.
Yeah.
But ikikuja kwangu mi already nishachapa no. Siwezi ongeza mtu 14 years.
Are you in the majority?
Do you know when you add 14 to my age, bana? Ai. Mtoi wangu mwenye akona miezi atakuwa na 19 years, Ruto akitoka atakuwa na ID. Ai. Mbona mnatujokia bana?
Ragalo,
Do you know how painful that? Are you imagining what I'm trying to say? Mtoi alizaliwa Ruto akiingia. Ukiongeza 7 year plus 7, akitoka ni 19. Huyo mtoi ako na AD. Na hata wengine walikuwa na ambao wako na mili na chemkaraka kako na katoi already. 18 19 ni mtoi mwenye amezaa mtoi Ruto akitoka. Hiyo ndio unataka turudi. Hiyo ndio tunataka turudi. Do you know there was no, you know, it came a point in time when I was in school, people were asking, Moi wa Tanzania anaitwa? Moi wa Uganda anaitwa? Nobody could imagine there's another person called president. Ilikuwa ni Moi. Na Moi wa Ethiopia? Did you ever hear that question? Moi wa Uganda. Si ati president Moi wa, like Moi wa Uganda. Do you want to tell me we start asking Ruto wa Uganda anaitwa? Yeah? Hapana, huko aturudi bana. Huko kulipiganwa, watu walifungwa, watu walienda jela, tulizika watu wengi to change a constitution. Do we want to just return it all that way freely? Nika kupeana to change kwa duka hivi easily.
Yes.
Hapana.
But are you in the majority really? When you say yeah, well, I'm going to vote no, but are you in the majority?
Let me be the one person who can say no. Because it is said it cannot work retrogressively. It cannot hurt the person who is in the seat. It starts anew. So when you do 7, another 7, now jamaa amechapa 5, wewe haikuumizi. 14 plus 5 19. Hadi na miaka yako yenye uko nayo sahi. Hapana. Hiyo ndio kitu tunaambia wa Kenya. 19 years of President Ruto on the seat. Dola itakuwa dhao.
There's a question.
Dola itakuwa dhao, bro.
There's a question you bro answered me. You might not be in the majority in case we're going into a referendum, isn't it?
I might be in the majority, even better. If I'll be in the minority, nitapiga tu kelele huko peke yangu. You know, the beauty of democracy is your voice can be heard or not be heard, but at the end of the day, you've tendered your voice and people have listened. A madman is making noise there. Wachana nako. I cannot do 14 years on top of 5.
I like the way you're saying that. Here's a question that
Treasury bill with 15.22%. Loans are going to hike. When Kibaki saved us, we are in trouble. Then we add another 14.
Here's a question that Here's a question that I want to ask you once we come from this break.
Okay.
That we sat here and sort of applauded the process that we passed in the Senate and the National Assembly that allowed whatever conversations are going on at the Bomas of Kenya to be anchored within law.
Yes.
What we did not do is ring-fence the process of introducing
new
topics.
New topics.
That's it.
Other than
the ones that we went right in with. So, in another way, are we saying, sisi kama wa Kenya, like what they say, tumejikaranga? Once we come back, let me just read for you some of the comments that have essentially come from the majority of the leaders in the country. Now, what we do know is that Western leaders across the country have rubbished the claims of Gerard Gay, essentially saying, well, that the presidential term limits need to be extended to 7 years. One, Boni Kaloale is saying that is utter nonsense. It needs to be stopped. So the comments of Boni Kaloale this weekend. Once we come back, then we're going to look at exactly where we are in terms of those negotiations at the Bomas of Kenya. We did report to you last week, by the way, that story. I saw it on our website on www.lookuptv.co.ke that indeed the 10 in that committee were almost fighting each other. In fact, the words that we used on that particular story is that there were almost blows that were thrown or exchanged in that particular sitting. Why? Who they want to fight? Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage.
At Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage online. We are running on the hashtag The Morning Drifts. Okay, let's then continue with the conversation this morning. Just before we went on break, we were looking at the way in for the Kenya Kwanza side in coming up with this proposal that presidential term limits should not be readjusted or should be essentially go up to 7 years, and that is Cherargei. And this is what we know about those negotiations at the Bomas of Kenya. That they're still open. They were still receiving proposals from the public. And that was still anchored within the draft of those negotiations. There was nothing illegal with Cherargei also coming up with this proposal. You would like also then to think that there's nothing completely illegal or that is going to stop that committee from sitting down and talking about this particular proposal. And remember, we sat back and applauded the process that essentially made sure that these negotiations will be anchored within law, a process that was discussed and approved quickly by the Senate and the August House. Good. So that means, therefore, Ragallo, that, I mean, this is a proposal not by Cherargei, it's a proposal by any other Kenyan.
Brother,
from where it's coming from,
yeah,
it's a proposal by any other Kenyan.
Yeah, Cherargei is any other Kenyan. I agree. When we went for maandamano,
yeah,
what were the reasons for maandamano? One of the main reason for maandamano, one, maisha yateremke chini. And that's why, as we were opening, I read the 5, 6, 7 things that before RUTO, they were affordable. Petrol was 160. Dollar was 118 before he went in. I've read all those things and I remember them very well. So as I was in maandamano, I could remember unga was at this. When campaign was done with a backdrop of that was expensive, so RUTO was going to bring it lesser than that. That was expensive. In a nutshell, that was the was the peak where RUTO was talking on, yeah, that this is very expensive. And I remember Ndindi Nyoro making noise. His video goes around every day, giving ultimatum to President Kenyatta then to bring down the cost of living. Yeah. So, people were killed in maandamano because people wanted cost of living to come down.
Yes.
People are seated there today. The few 10 people that are seated who are privileged to sit to discuss our problem, they are seated there with a backdrop of maandamano put them there.
Yes.
Did maandamano ask them, we wanted a prime minister? Did maandamano ask them, we wanted at a 7-year plus 7-term limit? Did maandamano ask them to add another seat for chief cabinet secretary? The question is, what will be the job of chief cabinet secretary, then the job for prime minister, then the job for president, then the job of deputy president? Yawa. I say it in Luo. Yawa. Surely. Are Kenyans in Kenya or Kenyans are living in limbo where you just do things that they don't know or they don't even ask? So if we went for maandamano to lower the cost of living, and to the people who are wearing sufuria like this, and some people are making noise to us that watu wazima wanavaa sufuria. So today, that sufuria is bringing prime minister,
yes,
through Cherargei. So you want to tell me the UDA side, we are waiting for this chance to overburden Kenyans further? UDA people, you people who brought us this problem, I keep telling you, you people brought us this problem. You made us cast as Africans in Kenya. This is a great curse on us. How does someone ask for food, you bring him prime minister? How can someone ask for cheaper life, you bring him a 7-year term limit added? And to the people, God said, or Jesus said, that baba mwenye mtoto anamuuliza samaki, anampatia mawe. That's exactly. So, if we go for maandamano today, will you still shoot us? Because we'll be saying no, we don't want prime minister. Because we'll be saying no, we don't want 7-term limit. What we all asked for we put sufuria on our head. We wanted food. Won't we? Will you shoot us? Will you baton us? Will you pig us with that maji in our shawasha? Will you do that? Just because we've said no to Prime Minister, the one that you want us to bring? That question will be answered one day. Of course, it will be answered very badly. Because if this thing passes, then Kenyans, we have another, viti zinatengenezwa, then maisha ya gharama itaenda juu, but Eric ataendelea kuishi Kenya because I have nowhere to go. You know, life in Uganda is cheaper than Kenya, though Uganda pay more tax than Kenya. Do you know, Uganda are 18%, we are at 16%. Do you know, Uganda are doing 18%, but you can live in Uganda better than Kenya. Why? Because there's availability. People can afford. What is the affordability in Kenya? Kenya, it will never happen. It will never happen when we think of kuongeza wadosi viti. And I remember RUTO using that word very well. Jina wadosi. Now wadosi wanaongezwa viti. By the same group ya RUTO yenye ilikuwa inakataa kusiwa na viti za wadosi zinaongezwa. Hii sasa ndio tunaitanga uongo ama hii ndio tunaitanga ubaradhuli ama hii ndio nini? You know, you don't even have the word for it because it is just 1 year ago they made noise on it. 1 year forward, they're adding these things. And Kenyans, you are here watching, especially those people who brought us these cars. What do you think and how do you feel? Eric, with the group, they brought us these cars. And I can see him in the back room smiling. What are they feeling? So, brother, what is the effect of 15.22% on treasury bill? People will not be able to get loans. They will be too expensive. How does that affect development of Kenya? People will not be able to invest. So how is the per capita index in Kenya going to be? I mean, can't we just discuss some of these things? Do we have to discuss how we are going to add a prime minister? How we are going to add a term limit to a president? If it was Raila there and was doing that, how would they have said? That's what you're supposed to ask themselves. When I do this, what if the other person feeling? You know, we don't care in Kenya. We just do it. So I'm telling Kenya, we are not going to go back to barabara. Barabara ya baba imeisha. Sisi hatuendi maandamano. It's you guys to decide what you want because you decided to have it. When you go to maandamano, the same people who make noise come back. Oh, baba anafunga Nairobi, baba anaharibu biashara zetu, leo hatujauza kitu. But now they are making noise. The same people when stima ilipotea for 14 to 18 hours, the whole country, I didn't see them on set wakicomplain, oh, leo stima imepotea 14 hours, si hatujauza kitu. They kept quiet. As if that day hatukupoteza pesa. But baba akienda kwa barabara akisema vitu zipunguzwe, wanapoteza biashara. You see how people in Kenya are?
Yes.
So sisi hatuendi barabarani.
Yes.
Because when they need to complain, they don't complain. Sisi tutawaangalia. But hii kitu mimi naipigia no. The problem is, now everyone is bringing their things. There's a group from Kiambu, Mount Kenya, that brought that Kiambu should be divided into two. That one I'll support. Why not?
Yes.
Kiambu is too big with very many people. I mean, 6 constituencies on upper and 6 constituencies in lower Kiambu should be split. Those are two counties. Yes. Because surely Kiambu has so many people. Na ukiangalia ile pesa wanapewa na division na nini na uangalie places kama Lamu kale kadogo, asisemi Lamu wasipewe, wanafaa kupewa, surely Kiambu wanaumia. Kiambu divided. Now that one is logical. This one is stupidity.
Did we make a mistake?
Yes, in voting RUTO.
That's it. No. Majority of people would say no. Did we make a mistake in not ring-fencing the issues that was supposed to be discussed, because that committee has been given the leeway to get more proposals on a variety of issues that were not essentially in the 5 aside that were first proposed to that committee to discuss.
You know why these things were brought?
Yes.
So that this discussion fails.
You think so?
Yes. This discussion is going to fail.
There's a lot to
reason is, Luochier,
yes,
during their discussion, Luochier in court said, if you change so much of this, over 70-something clauses and above,
yes,
you're actually repealing the constitution. You're not changing it. You're just removing the whole of it and bringing a new constitution. So many of these things that are being brought are going to change the whole booklet.
Yes.
And that one is that is what they are trying to do, is to add so many things that are so contentious, so it cannot even go to court, because Akina Luochier went to the highest court in land, to the Supreme Court, and the decision was done by the Supreme Court, remember. So this thing will not even go to any court, because Supreme Court already ruled on it, unless there is another court beyond Supreme Court. So it is just tantamount to fail. And can I tell you something? There is no discussion going in Bomas. That's a fallacy. There is nothing that is going to change. These things are brought up to make this thing fail, and it is going to be failing. So, hakuna kitu itapita. So, we are going to be like that, na inaishi hapo. Mkenya, hakutakuwa na cost of living inateremuka. It's going to fail.
Does it?
The way Otiende Amolo pulled out on the other one, that's how Kalonzo is going to pull out on this.
It's a good thing that Mr. Mungai is here. Mr. Mungai, how are you doing, sir?
Well, good morning.
They're the people who brought us this problem.
I want to bring you up to speed on exactly where we are this morning. We're looking at this proposal by Senator Gerard Gay, essentially that also now puts us into a different sphere on exactly what is happening at those negotiations going on at the Bomas of Kenya. Mr. Mungai, it's a proposal that is not the very first time that we're seeing it. We first saw it in November 11th, 2022, when one member from FAFI essentially said, well, we do not, that is Salah Yakub, said, let's take away presidential term limits. If a president is performing okay, we should not take him out of office, so let's take away presidential limits. The UDA party even reacted then. Let me read for you that particular quote back in November 11th, 2022. Remarks by FAFI Member of Parliament Salah Yakub that there are plans to extend term limits for the president are a product of fertile imagination by the legislature. UDA distances itself from the utterances by the Member of Parliament. Good. This time around, Mr. Mungai, we've seen Senator Gerard Gay come in and say, well, let's extend the presidential term levy to 7 years. In fact, I've spoken to that particular committee at the Bomas of Kenya. I want them to discuss that as well. We've not seen a lot of uproar within the party. We've just seen it within particular communities and some leaders in the country. UDA has not come out to say, well, like we had spoken about the FAFI Member of Parliament the proposal, Yakub, again, we want to remain clear about our stand on this particular issue. Looks now that the best way to do that, because there's an avenue, is through the Bomas of Kenya, because we know all those issues are anchored within law. Mr. Mungai.
Thank you, Simba, and thank you to our viewers this morning. You know, Simba, one of the things I have discovered today morning is because of the level of optimism that Kenyans have with this government, the traffic jams now, they are starting to build up. People are getting their vehicles on the road. But having said that, I have been watching the show while on the way. And it is a bit appalling when I listened to Lagalo.
It was a joke.
When I listened,
he's not laughing.
No, it's not a joke. We are serious. You know, I have listened to Lagalo, and it would appear to me that when the cat is away, the mice are bound to play. And the amount of lies that have been fed to the Kenyan population will take almost a decade to wipe out. And I sincerely want to apologize for allowing him the opportunity, you know, to lie to ordinary mwananchi. But we will try as much as possible to rectify the wrongs. Though I agree with him on some things that he has said, but a majority of them I disagree. I have heard him mention the dollar. He's really taken us on a wild goose chase, but the cat is here. We must rein in the other rodents that are trying to meander around the household. Now, on the issue of Cherargei, and on the issue of him wanting to extend the term limits, I'll say something. There is a South African frog. It's called, it puffs up, you know, it's a nuisance. It cannot be eaten by any animal. It does not add any value to, you know, the ecological systems. It's a very ugly frog. And I think part of the reason why that frog exists is to typically become a nuisance to the rest of the ecological. And that, I think, is Cherargei for us in terms of, he is a man who wants to hog the public limelight. He is a man who wants to be seen as if, you know, he's trying to cement his name like he has done today on the, in fact, I don't know why the Standard has accorded him a full page and put him on the front page of the Standard together with the president. I think that is a story that deserves to be, you know, page 16 or in a palaver somewhere in the Standard. That is not news that is supposed to grace our headlines. But you've asked a question on why UDA is not keen on you know, coming out to condemn the proposal.
Like they did last time.
Like it did last time. And it's about context. You know, last time when the Member of Parliament did it, he did it with a context. He looked like it was a UDA agenda that he wanted to promote. Yes. And UDA had to come out strongly and say, we are not interested in the issue of term limits. Yes. But the reason why the party has not come out to condemn the utterances or the proposal by Cherargei is simply because of the fact that, you know, we must also safeguard the rights of people to be insane. You know, the Constitution allows each and every individual to air their opinion, however offensive that opinion might appear to the rest of the Kenyans. And we must safeguard those rights, the right to the freedom of speech. But having said that, this is a proposal to the committee. Now, his proposal, in the context of other proposals, may be rejected or accepted. For instance, we have a proposal on the issue of the opposition leader. It can be accepted, or the bipartisan committee can sit down and say, look, that is not a proposal that we can adopt now. So the reason why there is no outrage in terms of his proposal is because it could be rejected at that bipartisan level.
It's a good thing you're saying it could be rejected.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Remember, the bipartisan process as has been structured now is between two parties, the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. Okay? And Kenyans have the leeway, including Cherargei, to come and present their views. Now, personally, I do not think term limits is something we should be discussing now, especially with the challenges that bedevil this country. I mean, term limits, for me as an individual, is not an issue that we should be discussing. In fact, we shouldn't even be giving it time.
If it was on your table in a referendum, because we do anticipate them, would you vote yes or no?
Yes, I would reject term limits, because as far as I'm concerned, 5 years are enough for us first to see how you're able to perform. Now, if you do not perform, or if you perform, we add you an extra 5 years. But remember, the tragedy would be if we give a president 7 years, and that president becomes a dictator, or that president is unable to perform, then in essence we'll have lost 7 years. Now, God forbid if we have another 2007, 2008, and he is able to grab another 7 years, then we have 14 years of backwardness and misery. So as an individual, if that were to come to my table, which I highly doubt it will, it would be an outright no. We don't need 7 years. 5 years are enough.
Would you say that Senator Cherargei is speaking through the voice, that is the voice of somebody else in this particular issue, Mr. Mungai?
I have seen Senator Cherargei jump from one media station to another.
Yes.
Like I have seen also one of the prominent people in government jumping from one media station to another. I think the man seeks relevance for himself. He speaks on his own behalf, which he should, by the way, because he's a senator. In fact, I do not think he speaks on behalf of the people in his county.
Yes.
I mean, if you ask the people of Rift Valley, you know, I have heard that only 2 communities are celebrating the issue of term limits. And I can tell you, I come from one of the purported communities, because I can imagine I already know which communities are those. I come from one of those purported communities. I don't support that. It's nonsense. It doesn't add value to anyone. I mean, how does that improve the cost? How does 7 years improve how I am paid as a coffee farmer, as a tea farmer? How does it augur in terms of the prices of milk at the farm gate? It's pure nonsense.
Yes.
So it is not meant to benefit anyone. I mean, it is his own proposal. He is his own mouthpiece. I mean,
Mr. Mugai, just
there is nothing meaningful to add to that discussion on Cherargei.
Just before I jump over to Ragalo this morning, because you will say that it's nothing meaningful to add to that discussion. But then, if you look at majority of the analysis that has gone into that particular issue, it will be 19 years, potentially, of President William Ruto, if indeed, in any case whatsoever, that particular committee decides to carry that as an agenda item that they're going to talk about. Because the way that particular discussion is structured, Mr. Mungai, the issues for discussion are not ring-fenced. They're not ring-fenced. It is, you want to talk about this, fine. We want to talk about this, no.
Let me debunk the propaganda which was started way before elections, that if President Ruto got into power, he would seek to extend his term limits and he would rule for life, because I have heard that propaganda being propagated in many media stations, in many fora, and I want to debunk that. And I want to say that the president was very clear that for him, he will first go for the first 5 years, and if Kenyans realize that he has done a good job, and if Kenyans are convinced that this is the Joshua that all along we needed to cross us to Canaan, and if we realize that we are already in the land of milk and honey, then Kenyans can add him an extra 5 years. So I want to debunk that narrative, which unfortunately Cherargei is trying to bring, that the president wants to extend his term to potentially what you have said is 19 years. We have gone through Moi's regime. We know what works. We know what Kibaki did in 10 years. If you mean well for a country, you don't need 19 or 50 years to rule a country. You just need to be democratically elected for 10 years and you can deliver a good job. And I'll tell you for a fact, his dalliance with the West, and especially his dalliance with the government of the US, is in essence going, even if in his own heart he wanted to extend his term, his dalliance with the West now cannot allow him to go to that extent, because he wants to be seen like a good man. You know, he's already rubbing shoulders with the high and mighty in the West. I highly doubt that he will.
Isn't it a man who's been speaking about us breaking our ties from the West, like be independent in our decisions, negotiating for fair deals?
No, you need partners. In life, you need partners. Even though I disagree with Ragalo, and even though today he performed very well in terms of arriving here and holding the forte, but in the bigger scheme of things, I need him more as a partner, even though we disagree on many an issue. Okay, so it doesn't matter because you're friends with people. You've become a slave to them.
I want to rebut.
We have 3 minutes for that.
He said he said something very, very painful to Kenyans. That Ruto could be called what?
The Joshua?
The Joshua.
That is supposed to take us to
He's the Joshua.
So I want to give you, Ruto was giving us Joshuaism on platform of Uhuru failure. Uhuru failure
like
was
Moses.
Uhuru failure was 160 shilling fuel. So Joshua's doing well is 200 and something shillings fuel. Uhuru's failure was 120 to 120 shilling on coffee and 180 shilling on macadamia. Joshua's time, coffee and macadamia is doing very well. Uhuru's failure was on 10 bob per unit on electricity. Joshua's time, electricity is doing very well. Uhuru's failure was 6.7 trillion loan from outside. Joshua's doing very well is 1.5 trillion in 1 year. Do it times 5. He'll beat Uhuru thoroughly, over 1 trillion. Uhuru's failure is good construction. Joshua's failure, Joshua's doing well, is stoppage of those construction till today. Uhuru's failure is bringing kazi mtaani. Joshua's doing well, kazi mtaani is stopped. What is this guy telling me? Which Joshua are we talking about when the T-bills are at 15.22%? Shika, bro. T-bills are 50. Read here. T-bills are 15.22%. So Joshua is doing very well when T-bills will affect the banks and the loans are going to hike. Joshua is doing very well. So Joshua is doing very well when term limits want to go to 19 years. So Joshua is doing very well. Which Joshua are we talking about? Unajua Joshua kweli ama ni Biblia gani unasoma?
You know Ragalo.
What is this guy telling me?
Ragalo, he who speaks first always appears to be right until his adversary weighs in. And you see, I have heard of all those things that you have listed.
Yes.
From
when 2016 Uhuru came in, universities were not able. Private universities were losing customers because many people are joining public universities. He made it cheaper to go to public universities. He brought money to university. When Joshua came, Joshua, now people would rather go to public university, private, than public. There will be no difference of school fee. It's almost the same. Hey boss bwana, ni Kenya gani unaishi bro? This guy come from those people, I'm telling you. Even things are going bad, they'll always praise.
You know,
Yes.
Simba.
Mungai, in 2 minutes.
2 minutes. There are two types of challenges facing this government.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I have heard Ragalo's sentiments, and I always say I agree with some of them. I am not a blind patron of this regime. I am aware of the challenges that continue to bedevil this society. There are two challenges. One, there are inherited challenges that we continue to face, and these are from the previous regime.
Yes.
And then there is the challenges that we have developed ourselves as a result of coming into power. And always when I say we, I mean because I am a member of the UDA party, which is the ruling or governing party.
Yes.
Now, I have heard Ragalo say that when Moses, who is Uhuru, was in power, we had construction sites all over. And when Joshua, who is RUTO, came into power, we no longer have anything to show about. And I'll tell him, 90% Kenyans have never cried like they cried during the previous regime.
So now they're
because
laughing.
the pending bills that were inherited are almost 90. I mean, we had people committing suicide during the previous regime because of pending bills. You are aware that even if you go to some bypasses today, you can see some of them construction stopped during the last tenure of the previous regime's term. And therefore, there are challenges that we have inherited. And it is true, there are challenges that we have created for ourselves.
Yes.
In terms of when we came into power. And I'll tell you a challenge that we have created.
Yes.
For ourselves.
Mr. Mungai, I want us to go for a tiny breather because I don't want to stop your train of thought. Once we come back, you pick it up from a challenge that we've created from ourselves. But then, essentially then, talking about what should be the reaction of even the president. Because we do know that some of the leaders within the Kenya Kwanza government who are essentially been viewed as making wrong sentiments have been called upon. Case in point, Moses Kuria was called up by Rigathi Gachagua to put him straight. But then it didn't work out. Should we be at that position, Bob was saying, the president and Rigathi Gachagua then are calling on Senator Cherargei to tell him, Bwana, do not speak like that. Hizo vitu hatutaki sisi kama government. If indeed, then they mean true to protecting whatever it is that they said. Like Mungai is saying, I only asked for 5 years. Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift, my name is Simba Kiage, with Eric Wagalo and Eric Mungai looking at what has transpired in the political weekend this Monday. Good morning.
Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Are you looking for experts in waterproofing systems, concrete admixtures, flooring systems, refurbishment solutions, roofing, sealing and bonding, and building finishing systems? Look no more, as Simba Kiage got you covered. With over 113 years of experience, we offer our customers a comprehensive one-stop shop experience and the best technical support. Our products are available in all leading hardware stores and building merchants across the country. Call us today on 0711 140 232 or 0786 140 834 or email us on sales@ke.sika.com. Simba Kiage, building trust.
The question is, where are we as a country in respect to the ongoing bipartisan talks at the Bomas of Kenya? Senator Cherargei is introduced as partner. He's saying, well, it's time then. That particular committee also talks about extending the presidential term limit to 7 years. Western leaders have called it nonsense. Monica Loale is saying this is stupid. All right? Majority of leaders have also come out to say, well, that is stupid. We do not want to talk about that. But then, the issues that are getting discussed at the Bomas of Kenya are not ring-fenced. That is not an issue that might not get to the table. That if the Kenya Kwanza side at the Bomas of Kenya is serious to pushing that particular issue to the table, they would. Maybe somebody else is going to pick it. What we do know is that as of Friday last week, there were allegations of fire in that particular committee, to the point that there were almost blows that were thrown at the members of that particular committee. So I'll be looking at it with Mr. Mungai and Mr. Ragalo, just to say, well, which particular issue in that particular committee would make them want to fight physically? But then on the table as well is that now Senator Cherargei is saying, well, give us 7 years for the president. Before we went on break, Mr. Mungai was clearing his sentiments on some of the problems that we as Kenyans have pushed ourselves into. Mr. Mungai, could you clear your sentiment?
Thank you, Simba. I have been handed a newspaper, ostensibly to show me how bad we are doing. But you know, in my mother tongue, sometimes we say where you are thrown is not necessarily where you fall. and when I read this newspaper, the first thing that has caught my attention is the good news about Kipchoge winning. I am seeing a quote here that Kenyans are flying our flag high in Qatar. I mean, it was given, this newspaper was given to me in bad faith, But all I can say is good news from the editors of this particular, maybe the one who handed me this meant to give me a different newspaper. But I must say this.
But I love him.
But I must say this. As a country, we are in dire straits. And I have often said on this show that I disagree with many of the economic policies. As I've said, there are challenges we've created ourselves. And part of my belief is that I do not think David D as an economic advisor is headed us in the right direction. And especially because when you look at him and hear him, he really loves IMF, he loves fronting IMF's policies, and therefore to a large extent, I disagree with him. Yes. But I'll tell you what I feel as UDA government, we are having a challenge. I think we left our plan. We had a very good plan, which we called the plan, and which we were implementing very well. I think we have made a departure from the plan in terms of, we are now seeing CSAs competing for the public limelight in terms of who is able to deliver what. If you look at the news every evening, you will see that CSAs have now come to a level where they have left the policy formulation level and they have gone down to what ordinarily would be done by administrators in the public service. And that concerns me because it tells you that as a society, it is sort of, we are breaking down, what do we call it, irrevertibly. Yes. And it tells me that if the junior officers are unable to handle the issues to an extent that we must invoke the intervention of the CS, then we are not doing very well as a country. And let me give you an example. The former regime started something they were calling BRT. In fact, we were treated to pictures and videos of the former CS Macharia in South Africa inspecting buses that would revolutionize the transport, the public transport in this country. My expectation was that when the CS Kipchumba Murkomen came into office, he would have a change of policy and a change of tact. And this is what I mean. We have a challenge with public transport in this country in terms of the fact that all of it was left to the hands of the private sector. Now, when we were growing up in Nairobi, for those of us who lived here, you know that Kenya Bus Services had very organized transport system. And that is what we sought to bring to, and I'm explaining this so that you see we've sort of departed from the plan, and that is, I think UDA government needs to come back to its plan. There's something called NAMATA, I think National Metropolitan Transport Authority or something. Simba, if you are an investor, yourself as an investor, and you had 20 billion to invest in the transport industry, would you take your money to BRT? The answer is no. Why? One, because you're not sure it is sustainable. Secondly, because you're not sure whether you can deal with the gangs in the transport sector. So typically, any investor with their own resources would not want to invest in such kind of a system. But what should we have done as a country? Instead of fighting the private sector, we would have brought them in and created a public limited company where the circles that we have as a country would actually be investors in the BRT system, so that CS Murkomen and the former CS do not have to waste time going to take photos in South Africa and going to other countries to look for investors. The money is here. I mean, didn't we oversubscribe Safaricom? We have oversubscribed every IPO that has come to this country. It tells you that even we as Kenyans have resources to pool towards making sure that we make success of whatever public project that we want to bring on board. And therefore, I always talk ragalo. I always talk sense. And therefore, I feel we've as UDA, we have now gotten into petty squabbles of infighting this one, you know, and it's because of ambition. every person wants to be something in the future. No one really, in my own estimation now, people have forgotten about the ordinary Kenyans, at least those in power. We are now having squabbles in government of who is senior than who every CS now is competing, who wants to be seen as the best in the public limelight, which to me I think is a lot of nonsense. You know, always policy takes time for Kenyans to discover. And that's a challenge in itself. If you have good policies, Kenyans take time. But the beauty and reality is, we did not discover Kibaki was doing well until after he left office. You know why? Because policy takes time to develop, and especially good policies. Yeah. The second challenge we are having as UDA is the issue of communication. Simba, as a communication expert, you know, you cannot have 5 things going on you can't report 5. As a government, you need to choose a maximum of 2 things that you want to be remembered for. That does not mean you disregard the rest. Now, what we are having is a government, when we passed the finance bill to become an act, Hinga, who is the PS for housing, and the CS, they disappeared into the woodworks. Now, even when you ask Kenyans, what is happening on the housing project? No one knows. They have disappeared. If you ask, okay, in the interior docket, what exactly do we want to achieve? No Kenyan tends to know. We don't know now whether we are in North Rift or whether we are in Lamu. You see, it's not clear to understand now from a communication perspective where exactly as a government we are. If I ask you top of your mind, what did Kibaki achieve in the 10 years? You know 9 out of 10 Kenyans what they will remember? Free primary education. Maza. Why? Because the government focused on one part, and Vision 2030. Yes. Government focused on one vision and one plan, and even though they did many other things, Kenyans will remember them for that. So I think in terms of communication, the guys that were employed, I think they were mesmerized when they went into State House and they saw the good cabro, they saw the good loans, they were happy to be accompanying the president, and they decided even this communication thing, forget about it. So to answer Agalo, I am not a blind defender of this government, even though I support it 105%. Yes. But it is to say that I can see what they are doing well, and I can also see where they are failing.
That's it. Agalo, let's put this conversation into proper context. On Friday, we got reports that Kalonzo and company were fighting, that they could not air their views properly. And here's a question as well. We're not so sure whether Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, was at that particular committee when those ladies and gentlemen in that house were throwing fists at each other, allegedly. What do you think would make them fight, Regalo?
Fighting is very good.
It's not.
It is.
In a bipartisan negotiation,
it is.
To take you away from fighting.
It is.
We were fighting in the streets. You like to think they will not fight, Regalo?
It is very good. When you look at any time we have people negotiating, yeah. They're hardliners. And hardliners will make sure things don't move. Even in South Sudan, I go to South Sudan, when you have a trouble between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir, yeah. There were hardliners. Up to the time you brought Salva Kiir and Riek Machar to stay together and talk. Without hardliners, put them in a room, will they fight? It's always no, they will not fight. Sometimes things that happen are beyond their control.
Yes.
When two people who are protagonists meet, they are never war. Hardliners try to supersede each other just to make sure the king would see them as better negotiators or people who fight for them than any other person. Mm-hmm. So it's more of, unaona mimi ndo ninakupigania. You understand? And that's why you see DP keeps telling us how alishikwa, akaekwa ndani. That is to bring points to what I'm trying to say. So hardliners are always meant to be there. And hardliners, there are two things they do, and which is not positive. They'll break the negotiation. One, they'll tarnish the name of the country. When Kofi Annan was with us, there were hardliners.
Yes.
One was Martha Karua, was on this side. The other side, hardliner, was there. When Kofi Annan decided, no, I'm not going to make any headway here, he decided to pick Raila and Kibaki. And he brought in Wako and Mutula. One attorney. But they came in later. When the two people sat together, were there fights? They talked. When Uhuru had an issue,
yes,
when they went with Raila in Sagana, there were no hardliners. Then they came and did a handshake. There were no hardliners. So these hardliner people, that is their function. So for them to fight, I wish it could have been televised. It's something to really be happy about. We see who can throw punches for more than the other because of someone else. Because that is their function anyway. So hardliners have to make sure things are hard the way you had their name, hardliners. But should you bring RUTO and Raila there? Will they fight? RUTO will even say, Baba. The way he calls him, he'll call him Baba. It doesn't matter how mighty. Baba is Baba. And they will talk. So some of these things we are talking about here, there were BBI issues. It's very easy. There are BBI issues, yes. When you look at, we are talking of Cherargei. Cherargei talked about 6 things. Why concentrate on one and leave the others? No. Why are we not putting prime minister position, which is number 1? Before even you come number 2 is actually presidential. Yes. Number 1 is prime minister. Prime minister. Why is it not here? No. Because Gazette know it will not bring money. Why is 30% your youth and PWDs not here? Why is World Development Fund not here? Yeah. So those things ni BBI. So the issue I'm talking about with the hardliner is they are meant to fight. And even if tungeonyesha video kipigana, mi hata kwangu hiyo sio issue. Kwani water, if I was there ningegonga mtu anyway. Because that is my work to defend my position and my side.
It's a big issue in respect to the process of negotiations. Like, if you're fighting and you have less than 40 days to deliver that particular draft to Kenyans,
actually,
not made progress.
Why are you saying less than 40?
Yes.
When are we today? It's actually 3 weeks to. So you've forgotten the days.
And you're fighting last week then.
You know, that is why I told you, these issues that are being brought are to derail this thing. How many days are remaining? And now you've been brought another 6 points. Kiambu brought the one for division of Kiambu. Eric, you remember the Kiambu one? Yes. To divide Kiambu. That one even 100%. Hiyo hata inastahili kupita. Hata wangeleta Kakamega, Nairobi divaidiwe pia kidogo. You know, I mean, there are places that should really be divided. I mean, hii si ati ni story, hii si siasa. Yes. Kuna zingine tu for development purposes. Yeah. Surely, why would Kiambu have so many people under that kind of a thing? Do you see how Githurai looks like? Githurai, if you're not careful, Githurai is not going to, it is always a jam-packed place from morning to Jioni. It should be divided as both African Nene. Even Turkana should be divided so that we develop some areas in Turkana, people to move. Okay? But now this one has been brought to derail. And Eric will agree with me. It is only 3 weeks to. You brought these contentious issues. What are you doing? That time frame will not be beaten. Then, what wataondoka? Because this time frame was given by parliament. Mtarudi tena parliament kuomba more time. Then what will happen? Hii kitu itaporomoka. Because we are in the 2nd year. So tutaenda 3rd year tukiongea juu hii kitu itaporomoka. So what have we done? So the mindset is not to have a presidential limit, but to waste time and have this thing fail.
Mr. Mungai, somebody asked me to put this question to you. That since the process started, we've not seen the chief mediator, that is Olusegun Obasanjo, come in and give us an update
yes,
of how this process has been going. One. Number two, that even when the Bomas of Kenya process started, we never saw Obasanjo included in these negotiations. Somebody said, could you ask Mr. Mungai whether we are reading foul in this process where the president, quite silent about the ongoing process at the Bomas of Kenya, the chief mediator, who essentially is the main man in that particular process, has not spoken. They drew comparisons with the process for one, President Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was a mediator. He kept on giving us updates time in and again in all the peace missions that he went into. But this one, we have not seen Obasanjo speak. We do not know what's going on. The only update that we got is that last Friday, the women and men who Kenyans are paying their money to actually talk about these negotiations were fighting at the Bomas of Kenya. Does somebody want it to fail?
You recall that when the talks started,
yes,
Obasanjo had requested that he remains, what do we call it? He had suggested that he does not appear in the public limelight regarding these discussions. In fact, you remember there was accusation and counter-accusation.
Yes.
When in their media statement, Azimio invoked his name. And then the Kenya Kwanza team said, why are you invoking his name? And yet it had been agreed from the word go that Obasanjo would remain incognito.
Yes.
And so I think for those reasons, that is why he's chosen to stay away from commenting and staying away from the public limelight. The Chinese have a saying, you know, talk, 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 nothing do.
Yes.
And I feel this is what these talks are meant to achieve. We are meant to keep talking. I mean, there are things we will have to agree on by virtue that constitutionally we are bound to agree on them. For instance, the issue of IBC. You know very well, Simba, that right now there are over 70 electoral areas that do not have representation, courtesy of the fact that we do not have a functioning IBC. And you see, constitutionally, the people have a right to representation, and especially because they are paying taxes. And therefore, we are within, we have a, there is opportunity for us to agree on that specific issue on IBC because it is time bound.
Yes.
And constitutionally, the people deserve representation. And so for those places where they are supposed to be by election, you can see already we cannot proceed. So there are important issues that I feel we will agree on, those that do not require a constitutional change. For instance, you see already the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, even though it's not constitutionally there, it is already there.
Yes.
And the Constitution gives a mandate to the Public Service Commission to create offices based on public participation. That is why you saw we had CASs, even though they were quashed by the highest court in the land. But what I feel is there are issues that will be agreed upon, such as IBC, the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the office of the official opposition. It could be given another name, and PSC could be, you know, we always know how the political setup plays. If the president and Baba say we need an interim office, you remember even during 2007 there was no office of the prime minister, but because they agreed upon it, it was taken to parliament and it was passed as law, and we got the office of the prime minister then. So even in this scenario, we could say, because I do not foresee a referendum in this 5-year term, I foresee it in the other, for the simple reason that when a government is elected today at 12 noon, it becomes unpopular at 12:01. That is the nature of governments across the world. It's not peculiar to Kenya. That is why you see, even when a chief comes to your function, there is tension. People are no longer free. When a police officer walks in and people are discussing, they quickly change discussion, because that's the nature of government. So long as they are elected and they come into power, then people go into opposition almost immediately. And therefore, I feel we won't have a referendum this time for the simple reason that we do not want a repeat of what happened during Kibaki's time.
Yes.
You know, Baba could be telling you he's with you now, but he could turn tables against you during referendum, and therefore you could end up losing. But I feel there will be things that will be agreed on. I think Baba is well sorted. He will have an office. He might not be called official opposition.
Yes.
They will give it a name, and we will see him walk into his office very soon. So I think there are things we will agree on, but I doubt we will see Ombasa anywhere in the mix.
But much. Bagalo, I've got a direct question to you that I want to put to you this morning as we come close to completing our discussion this morning. And I want to start like this so that you actually get the particular question. Good. Let me pick this question from one, it's just got a lot of Ivans. Thank you very much. So this is what Ivans is saying. If you look at that proposal by Cherargei, what would it take for it to be discussed at that bipartisan table?
Not what it will take. It's going to be discussed. But what I'm wondering is the two chairs from both sides, did they put the rule of the game that when it reaches this point, we are not going to take more of proposal that will come from anywhere? Because some of these proposals, like I said, their function is to derail the whole process. We are now talking about it. Public participation has started. Many will say no, some will say yes, depending on where they are seated and how they feel. Everyone has an opinion which should be respected. But my question is, what was the reason of it being brought now, after so many days? The timetable was given. We know the date when this should stop. We know the date when the Wadosis are going to get reports from both sides. Why now? Is somebody hell-bent to kill the negotiation?
No, sir.
Yes. And why are all documents coming from one side? The Kiambu document, the document for Cherargei, and many other documents. Remember, I'm not saying Kiambu document in part. I'm just giving an example of those documents that have come. Why are they going now? Is it now that they remembered that Kiambu should be divided? I'm questioning, but I'm supportive of the Kiambu one, but I'm asking, is it now that they thought, nobody thought about it earlier? When there was a story of having Suba as a county, Kuria as a county, the guys in Kiambu don't remember that Kiambu can be divided until end of last week on Thursday. Those questions could even tell you it's a bait to other people. That ikianguka, the Kiambu guys will say, Baba Saidu aliangusha yetu. Unaona vile unaekewango mtego. It is a good document ya Kiambu. But ikianguka, it is also a poison to the other side. Because it will be said, sisi tulipeleka, but wale waliangusha. Unaona? So, some of these things are one, political traps for political maneuvering. Second, traps to make sure there is no move on this. Thirdly, if this thing passes, and we have a term limit that will ensure Ruto become president for 19 years, Mudavadi will be how many years? Give Mudavadi 60 plus 1979. Just give him 60. I don't know his age, I'm just giving a number. Give Kalonzo again also 60. Give all of them 60. They'll be 79. Even Rigiji, give him 60. He'll be 79. Are they ready to wait for 19 years? Let's stop bluffing with the Kenyans. Any jokes. Just like my friend is saying, any jokes. Because all of these people are presidential. The ones that have said, Mudavadi is presidential, Weta is presidential, Wajakoya is presidential, Martha is presidential, Rigiji is presidential. Let me call the 5 first. Kalonzo is also there. Give them 60 years minimum, as at now. They will all be 79. At 79, the 6th year, some of them will have gotten dementia. because age, people don't get dementia at the same time. But you trust me, in those 6 people, there's someone who will not be like the other. Someone will still have his faculties very good, but some faculty are gone. So you want to tell me they'll wait for 19 years? Why are we doing this to people? Why are we doing this to these 6 people? You guys, no one is presidential here. So, Mungai, tujipange. Hii 19 ni yetu na Mungai. Ndio.
That's it. That's it.
Because our jamaa watakuwa.
Mungai, I wish you could have been here when we started the show. The reaction from Regalo when he said, well, it could be 19. Couldn't fathom it.
Mr. Mungai, just one of these questions that are coming to you as we clear this morning. This is Micah. Micah, thank you very much for watching us this morning. He's saying, should we go back to those negotiation topics and say that none of the issues should be changed now? Continues to say, because the likes of Senator Kiage are now finding a way to disrupt those negotiations. That the proposal should only be on the issues that both sides have agreed to discuss.
You know, we got a new constitution, and fortunately or unfortunately, part of what came out in the new constitution was public participation. If you close yourself in a room, generate your own ideas and discussions, someone will go to a court of law and you'll be disqualified based on the fact that you did not engage the public. So them receiving proposals from the public has nothing to do with the fact that they like proposals. They would want to close themselves in and develop their own things.
Yes.
But unfortunately, constitutionally, there is a demand upon them legally for them to involve the public. And therefore, they must take in as many views as possible. And this is whether they will derail the talks or not. They can take as many outrageous as possible. But it's a tenet of law. We cannot run away from it. We just have to involve the public, regardless of the kind of sentiments that come in.
That's it. All right, I've got this one from Ogola. Could you ask Regalo why the president has not spoken, why the deputy president has not spoken about Senator Kiage's suggestion?
I told you that there are people who never wanted this discussion to continue.
Yes.
The deputy president, on microphone, said, mambo isiendelee.
Yes.
The president was seated. He even gave example what is being discussed, we should not be.
Yes.
And he's not supportive to it. So it is not something that I didn't tell you. I just said here, there are people who are hell-bent not to have this discussion continue. And I still feel Kiage's things, documents, ni mtego kwa hawa, so that this thing does not continue. If it continues, it's going to finish DP. I want to give an example. I don't know, but it is an example. We have official opposition chair. Raila is the official opposition chair. DP will have clout. You know, there are people who want to chase clout by force. You want people to follow you by force. So, and you fear when other people come around, they'll run with the population.
Yes.
And you see them as votes. The Art of Seduction, that book was written by Maurice Green. The Art of Seduction. The Art of Seduction, the book says, and The Secret. The Secret talks about attractiveness.
Yes, the law of attraction.
The law of attraction.
Like cause we like.
Yes, you've read it. The Secret, law of attraction. Like, the law of attraction tells you, how do you place yourself to be attractive? And also, when you are attractive, people come to you. What makes Raila attractive? Putting sufuria on the head is attractive. May not be attractive to others, but it is attractive. Politically, it is. People would ask, Baba anavaa sufuria. The time of Uhuru, they were saying baba anakaa kwa barabara chini na matako. Nani watu wana disrespect baba anakaa chini kwa barabara. It was attractive. That is why DP keeps telling us the way alishikwa. He doesn't want us to forget that because it is attractive. Because I was a martyr for you. He's telling the generation that believed in them so that they don't forget. But Raila's attractive can never be forgotten because it is something that goes on for over 20 to 40 years. Today is this or tomorrow is this. So now he wore sufuria. Alipigwa tear gas. The generation that is here knows Baba alipigwa tear gas. So to them, they are fearing if this guy comes in, he will go away with the people. So they'd rather have Raila in limbo, but not Raila coming near the kitchen. So that will kill their head. So they want to make sure this does not go through so that nobody comes near.
Yes.
But Jaramogi Oginga Odinga from 1965
yes.
was never in parliament until 1992. He remained attractive for over 30 years. He left parliament 1965. He came back to parliament 1992. Ask anyone, they will tell you Jaramogi was in parliament for over 40 years. Jaramogi only served in parliament for 5 years. And 3 years when he was a deputy, which now deputy was not going to parliament anyway. And Lejiko maybe that time. But Isiasa Motomoto, he was in parliament for how many years? 5 years, 92 to 97. But his name is big for over 40 years because he remained attractive. So DP should find how to be attractive. Because someone was out of parliament for over 30 years but remained attractive. So find things that people want to hear. And this is to kill the negotiation.
That's it. Pretty much. Mr. Mungai, I've got a question for Nabiso Brand. Thank you very much for watching this morning. It's one of our analysts by those watching us this morning. Thank you very much. He's saying, could you ask Mr. Mungai to explain what it means by problems that we have created for ourselves? This is a government that promised, and so Kenyans did not do anything bad by voting them in. That it is the president that has failed to correct the development agenda 1 year later. Is that where the problem is?
Not necessarily. What I meant by there are challenges we inherited,
yes,
and there are challenges we have created for
yes.
ourselves. You recall during Kibaki's government when they were with Raila,
yes,
there was one time some of the ministers actually bullied the president on TV and told him, fire, save your man enough. You know, they used to call him General Kiguya. And you remember in one afternoon, the president sacked almost the entire cabinet. There will always be a challenge. There will always be challenges when we form government, partly because it is new to you. The fact that you are deputy president does not automatically confer upon you the wisdom when you become president, because it's a new seat altogether, and the buck stops with you. What I meant by we have challenges is that the president must rein in on his team. Let us not have disjointed communication. Let the people who are both elected and appointed to power realize that it is no longer about them. If they so wish that they want to be bigger than they are now, they have to wait a little bit longer for them to be able to grow, outside their breaches. But for now, I would encourage the government officials, both elected and appointed, to ensure that there is concerted effort to work for the public and not to advance their personal interest. Because now what's happening, Simba, is that we are even having corruption at the lowest levels of government. Now it's becoming chaotic to run government. The traffic officer is demanding from you, birth certificate is demanding from you. I mean, everywhere you go now, everyone wants money from you. But when you think about it, where are you getting this money that you should give civil servants and government officials? And therefore, That is why I was saying there is imported problems, but there are problems we have manufactured ourselves, and it is time we go back to the drawing board. You saw when Murkomen went to NTSA, the full library, the full house is full of number plates. Yet when Kenyans go to NTSA, unaambua number plate yako, na number plate ilitoka July, ilitoka February. So it tells you that when corruption starts seeping to the lowest cadres of government, we have a big problem. And that's why I was saying, yes, there are big problems we inherited, there are small problems we inherited, but as we fight the big ones, let's sort these small messes of number plates, birth certificates. Sasa passport ni kitu ya kunyima mtu kweli.
Surely. I want us to look at the next question, by the way, that is directly pointed to maybe just off discussion a little bit. But I've got one viewer who's saying, well, what's really going on in Namisame? He's saying, every time I look at some of the developments in the western part of the country, it's always a call for unity, togetherness. This weekend again, there was a call for unity and togetherness, with Moses Wetangula calling for the rumors to be quelled, that like there's a fight between him and Musalia Mudavadi. What is going on with the Western community?
The truth is, if you want to get unity, there must be war that you fought together as a community. Why did the Luos become united? The many as they are. The Luos fought together. The Luos have fought from they walked together from Wau district. By the way, it didn't come from Barel Gaza. Some of these history books should be changed.
Yes.
Some of us have done history now better to understand some of these books are indoctrinated books. They are not truly books. Luos came from Wau Hills. From Wau, they went to Barel Gaza. From Barel Gaza, they followed the river to where they are today. Along the route, they fought many wars. And the only community that walked the longest distance are the Luo tribe. 1,170 miles to where it's called Kenya, which was not called Kenya. That's why where it's called Kenya. So, when they came here, for them to settle here, they have to resettle people. They found the Kumbi and many other communities and drove them away. They fought with warriors, Luanda Magere and many other. Have you ever had a warrior in Western? I just want to ask a simple question. We've had Luanda Magere, Gor Mahia. You know them. They were in the books.
Nabongumumia.
Nabongumumia was not a warrior. He was a chief collaborator.
Yes. Oh yeah, by the way, he was a chief
There was no warrior.
Yeah.
So they have never fought a war together as a community. So how did Luya become Luya? The name Luya was formed in 1958, if I'm wrong, 48, to bring the small tribes together to form the name Luya. The name Kalenjin was brought up again by the white man around the same time, 1958. I'm not sure, 52 to 58, to bring these tribes, and they were called Kalenjin. The other again was Mijikenda. They were brought together around the same time, and they were called Mijikenda to give them identity. Back then, the Luo, the Kikuyu already had identity. So these guys were amalgamated together to bring an identity. People of different social thinking, economic thinking, and political thinking. That is pure history. So when they were brought together, they don't talk the same. Actually, they call themselves Luya, but some are actually Luos. So they were brought together to form a community. These communities don't speak the same language, don't behave the same. So the Luya unity cannot work because these are different people. You see, Luo is Luo. Kikuyu is Kikuyu. It's one community. This is different over 20 communities together to make one person called Luya. And these 20 communities are different. I call them 20 distinct communities. So when you say Luya unity, it cannot happen because the guy in Vihiga has their king. The guy in Mumias have Oparanya as their king.
Bungoma.
The guys in Bungoma feel Weta is their person.
Yes.
It depends which side of Obukusu you are. There are people who still feel Wamalwa is their person. So these people cannot unite.
Yes.
This Luya unity only comes when you want to go for a vote. But when you finish the vote, we go back to our tribal war. These are tribal wars. Let's go back and read the book, Kenya. I have that book. It's called Kenya. It's a huge book like this. It's called Kenya. It will tell you how these communities were brought in together and how they formed the names Kalenjin, Mijikenda, and Luya. So they have never fought a war together. They have never done things together. It cannot be united. And then they are not a community. They are distinct tribal communities. And if you ask me how many communities, how many tribes you have in Kenya, there are over 100. There are not 47. Luya is not a tribe. There is no tribe called Luya. These are different. You want to tell me that Tachoni speak the same language with Bukusu? These are very different people. Do you want to tell me Tsotso? The Tsotso people from here hapa kwa kina Halole ukiingia ndani nimesahau. Hapo Sigalagala ukiingia, the Tsotso people. They speak the same with Samia. No. These are distinct community. Kenya has 150 something languages. We should, and that's why I said some of these books of history should be changed. It is not 40 something languages. Tuambie watoto wetu ukweli na we write our own history, not to be written by our own colonizers.
Pretty much. Good. Mr. Mungai, let's click like
this.
No. There's one here that we're going to clear with. Good morning. It's Crispin. Thank you very much for watching. Here's the thing, that from this week, when the president is going to hold that UDA party leaders meeting, you're going to see a change in behavior of majority of these elected leaders, Cherargei included.
Absolutely. You know, one of the challenge sometimes is that, you know, there is a common saying that before the truth bends to tie its laces, the lie has gone, you know, 2.5 times across the globe. And the challenge sometimes is that there are a lot of lies and propaganda concerning the president.
Yes.
But if you sit with the president, he's a very reasonable man, and he rarely bullies his way. He is a man who tends to listen, and when there is consensus, he offers direction.
Does it?
I am sure that during the upcoming UDA meeting, and you know, particularly so, one of the agenda is elections, grassroots elections, and I'll be gunning for the Kiambu seat. I've just let the cat out of the bag in this show. So that
we've got to repeat it.
We can garner as much support as possible at the grassroots level.
We've got to repeat it.
No. When it comes to the UDA grassroots elections in Kiambu County,
yes,
I'll be gunning for one of the seats, and I'll be telling you which seat in the coming future. But I have to wait for the party leader and the party members to ensure that systems are in place. But we will have some of these members like Cherargei who want to hold public attention and who want to spin their own old women tales or old men tales. We will have them toe the line. And I am sure that out of that meeting, we will have soberness, level-headedness, and this is a party to watch. This is a party for the future. I know that's what we said regarding Jubilee. But
same words.
Same words we said about Jubilee. But it is my hope and desire that we will commit, we will keep to that which we committed as a party, and that in the coming grassroots elections, we will elect leaders, including myself, who have the tenets of the party at heart and who are willing to allow the party to progress.
That's it. Now, here's the thing. For those who want to essentially be part of this conversation, you can actually take this gentleman back to the time that has joined us this morning online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Just like Mungai is saying, probably once then UDA elected leaders meeting goes down this week. We do not know when. The president already called for it. Then you're going to see a change in heart for majority of these leaders in the country. Anyway, Magalo, just 1 minute. Is there anything we're looking forward to, if any, from this bipartisan talk? What would you want to pass, you, on a personal level?
If you ask me, in this bipartisan talk,
yes,
one, cost of living. RUTO, you had your time and you told us the wrongs Uhuru did.
Yes,
and you told us very well that you will reduce all the costs that Uhuru had put up. And I've read them here and I've said them here. Can you take us back there? $1 at 118. We would rather stay with the Uhuru time than your time. So return everything Uhuru and $18, 10 shilling per nene KPLC per unit. Return us to kazi kwa vijana. Return everything. Because where we are going, we don't know where. My brother has refused to read the paper that I gave him, but it was saying that treasury bills have already reached 15.22%, ceiling at 15, we are in shit. What will happen? Yes. You're going to have trouble in taking loans and you're going to be in problems. But again, Kuria said, maisha itaanza kukwama February. So prepare. Prepare.
And by the way, for all those Kenyans wondering as well, we are in officially in El Nino, by the way. After this week, we'll be getting rains that are not going to stop. Some parts of the country have already started experiencing those rains, so gear up. Tough times ahead. That's what we take a tiny breather right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, let's talk about health in the country and look at the cancer prevalence among kids in the country. Where is the solution? Once we come back.
There is a biblical quotation that